Welcome back to Everyone Has a Story, true tales from everyday life. I'm so glad you're here. If you've been watching this channel, you'll remember stories I've already told you about Inga-Maj, my Swedish mom. Now I must say, I have saved the best one for now. Inga-Maj was the queen of adventures during those summers that I spent in Sweden with her and Rolf. Keep watching to hear the story of our trip to southern Sweden that became a crazy journey to Denmark and back. This is the story of the train that should not have become a ferry. Inga-Maj and I were on the train to Helsingborg, Sweden, going to visit some cousins of hers. They had plans for me to have a day visit in Copenhagen, and I was excited at the prospect. It was a city I'd always longed to see, and now was the time. Inga-Maj and I had set out from the small town of Dalsed early that morning and had enjoyed a great train trip already. The scenery was always spectacular and the conversation lively, planning what I might have time to see in the city during our brief overnight stay. The train pulled into Helsingborg, and it was time to disembark and meet cousins Margareta and Per at the station. Inga-Maj saw no platform near our car and assumed we were simply waiting to pull into the station. So we waited in our seats. During the journey, she had explained to me that the train would continue to the Danish side of the Sound after we disembarked in Helsingborg. It would pull directly onto the ferry and float across the water to Denmark. I was astounded. And at 18, I was full of questions. So you mean the passengers just sit in the train while it floats on a ferry across the water? Yes, Virginia, there is a train that becomes a ferry. As we sat there waiting for the train to completely pull into the station, we heard all the doors lock. And Inga-Maj looked panicked. I didn't understand what was happening. Where are we headed now? On the way towards Denmark. Inga-Maj did her best to calm herself and continue to patiently address all my excited questions. So I'd get to experience the train ferry after all. How exciting. Well, after the train pulled onto the ferry, the doors unlocked, and Inga-Maj excitedly jumped up and scurried for the closest door, me following as best I could. We managed to get off the train and into the ferry itself, and it was not well lit at all. Everyone else had already left the train to go topside. We looked left, then we looked right, left again. Signage was confusing, and so I followed quickly after Inga-Maj as she looked for the way out. We went this way and that way, and it began to feel as if we were in some sort of fun house, and it was quickly losing its funness. So we hurried even faster along the rail track and finally found a stairway. Just as we broke into daylight, huffing and puffing, Inga-Maj looked out past the rail of the ferry deck and pleaded, Oh no, we're heading to Helsingborg. Sure enough, we were headed across the 5-mile stretch of Öresund between Sweden and Denmark. We'd missed our disembarkation entirely. Margareta and Per were likely still at the station in Sweden, and hopefully they would wait for us to return from our unplanned trek to Denmark. There were no cell phones at the time, so there was absolutely no way of letting them know what had happened. I could only imagine what they must have thought as they watched the train vanish into the bowels of the ferry and never saw us on the platform or in the station. So, now what? And that's exactly what I asked Inga-Maj. What do we do now? Well, truth be told, there was really nothing that we could do. Like it or not, we were along for the ride, and that's pretty much what she told me. It was a beautiful, sunny day, and we might as well just take in the scenery on our round-trip voyage across the Sound to Helsingborg, Denmark, and back to Sweden. So we stayed up on deck at the rail, wind in our hair, just watching the Sound go by as Sweden faded and Denmark grew larger. As we got closer, Kronborg Castle came into view on the opposite shore, and Inga-Maj became very excited, telling me what it was and explaining the connection to Shakespeare's Hamlet. Standing next to us on the deck was a couple who became interested also in what Inga-Maj was saying. The only catch was they didn't speak English. Inga-Maj was multilingual and so tried other ways to communicate with them. Swedish? No. German? No. And at that point, Inga-Maj was out of options. So she did what only Ingemai could do. She started flailing her arms and pointing wildly. Hamlet, Hamlet Castle, to be or not to be? Hamlet's castle. She repeated it many times and they smiled vehemently as if they understood. To this day, I'm still not sure whether they truly got it or whether she scared the bejeebers out of them and they smiled and nodded like any kind soul would do with a crazy ranting person. Either way, she appeared satisfied that she'd passed along the knowledge as a good tour guide would. And when we reached Denmark, we watched people disembark, more people joined us, and before we knew it, we were on our way back to Sweden once again. We made sure we were right where we needed to be to disembark the ferry this time, though. Her cousins were indeed there to meet us, and we told them the hilarious tale on the ride to their home. We all got a good belly laugh that day. And to this day, almost 40 years later now, I still tell the story and laugh every bit as hard as I did that day. It's a favorite in Ingemai's circle as well. They call it the train ferry story. Ingemai always had a way of making the best of a less than perfect situation. She made it fun. Even when it looked as if she was truly losing it, she managed to find the humor in most things. She didn't waste a single moment of fretting overly about things she couldn't change. I learned a lot from her. Particularly that it was okay to laugh like a mad person when life was really going off the rails, per se. Pun absolutely intended. Things would most always work themselves out if you let some time pass. And in this instance, it was about 45 minutes to make the round trip, and things surely did work out just fine. So often in life, things do not go quite how we planned or expected. The road goes left instead of right, down instead of up. People we thought would always be there are suddenly gone for any number of reasons. And all the planning we put our heart and soul into must be rethought because some power out of our control deemed things to happen differently. Nothing in life is guaranteed. Actually, the only thing we're guaranteed is that we can't know what will happen, nor when, nor with whom, and that we're not immortal. The old adage about death and taxes, we must rely on not being able to rely. Challenging at best, devastating at worst. Don't let it devastate you. If you truly cannot change it, make the best of it, however you can. If you can't, manage that. Then try to wait it out, for the pain to dull, for a new idea to arrive, for peace to come into your soul once again. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. I, for one, I don't want to know. Whatever it is, roll with it. Do your best to develop a sense of humor about the things that simply will not matter next week or 5 years from now. Recognize them, accept them, and remember, Ingemai, there is laughter in there somewhere. Do you have a story about a travel adventure? Perhaps you had plans that went awry and turned into a hilarious story for the history books. Please share it with us in the comments below. We love stories, but travel stories can be the best. And if you enjoy content like this, please consider subscribing with notification bell on. That way you won't miss any of our weekly episodes. And a thumbs up is always appreciated. Well, thanks for visiting with us once again, and we'll see you next time on Everyone Has a Story, True Tales from Everyday Life.